Today we'll be discussing the smartest NBA player ever. When we think about basketball players, we usually focus on their physical abilities, like speed, strength, and agility. But today we'll talk about Jaylen Brown's intellectual capacity he's shown off the court. But of course, claiming that someone is the smartest NBA player ever is a bold statement that requires more than just anecdotal evidence. In the rest of this video, we'll highlight how Brown, despite his age, has shown that he is, in fact, in the Mount Rushmore of the smartest NBA players of all time. You see, there's always stigmas and stereotypes surrounding a group of people. Asians are good at math, girls play with dolls, and athletes, well, they're not exactly the sharpest tools in the shed. But every once in a while, someone comes along and breaks the mold. And among the supposed academic mold breakers in the NBA, Jaylen Brown is at the forefront. So, how intelligent really is Jaylen Brown? Although nobody knows what his IQ is, and not that it mattered, I guess it's safe to say that Brown is in the conversation of the smartest player of all time. JB was once offered a NASA internship and hopes to take the offer someday if his schedule permits. He is also the youngest ever to be an MIT Media Lab Fellow, and at 21 has already been a guest TEDx speaker in front of a packed crowd at a Harvard Graduate School event. Brown was also involved with Base Ventures, a venture capital firm particularly interested in investing in tech companies, and interned there for 2 months in his first year of college. His connection with Base Ventures and its founder Eric Moore was exactly what Brown needed as an intellectual, thirsty student athlete in his first year of college. Moore sang high praises for Brown, who once sat in a room with him and his partners at the firm for a business pitch looking for seed funding. Think of it as Mark Cuban-less Shark Tank scene, a sight that would have befuddled any 18-year-old. He sat back in the audience and was sitting in a pensive manner, Moore recalled. You wouldn't have known just looking at him. You would have thought he was almost disinterested, but in fact, he was thinking about the whole thing and taking it to the next level. He thought about it in a way such that maybe he'd done this before, and the fact of the matter is, he hasn't. When the Base Ventures trio of top executives approached Brown for his thoughts after the presentation, they were in for a surprise. At the very end, I asked if he had anything to say, and he pontificated on and on about a particular company, and why he thought it was a good idea and what he didn't like about it, Moore said. Brown, according to Moore, has an innate knowledge for the venture capital industry, which ideas will succeed and which will not, as well as the ability to read people. Alluding to Brown, Moore added, I can teach you how to invest and I can teach you how to be a venture capitalist, but I can't teach you the softer skills. He's got that, intuitively and innately. He'd be great in this role. To be quite frank, with Brown's intellectual capacity and wide array of interests, he will do great in any role. After all, he was successful in everything he put his mind into. He self-learned Spanish from scratch and became fluent in 5 months, all while taking freshman and graduate courses at UC Berkeley. During his first semester at Berkeley, he wrote a graduate-level dissertation on the impact of sports on the education system. Now, let's go back a little about how intuitive Brown is in reading people. It wasn't really by accident, as he always makes an effort to know others, but surprisingly, Brown attributes that ability to chess. His grandfather, Willie Brown, taught him the ins and outs of chess when he was still a little boy in Marietta, Georgia, and JB sort of weaponized the game to learn more about how people think. Here's an excerpt from NBA.com's Matt Peterson. I like learning how other people think, Brown said. I love to win. I'm super competitive. But sometimes, I just like to see how people think. If I'm getting to know you, I play you in a game of chess, just to see how your mind works a little bit. Well, it's not a secret how Brown's mind works now. He has always stood up for what he believed in, and now that he has the platform to do something about it, he did not let the opportunity pass. Two areas about which Brown is really passionate are the education system and racial inequalities. So he set a plan in motion to hit two birds with one stone. The Bridge Program. The program attempts to connect students to mentorships and opportunities through STEAM learning. Brown worked with various educational institutions to launch the initiative in 2021. The effort provided students with leadership as well as resources for applying science, technology, engineering, the arts, and mathematics. It's related to his activities through his 7UICE clothing brand and foundation, which sell expensive products and redistribute the proceeds to those in need. The project also included collaboration from the MIT Media Lab and its Community Biotechnology Division. Through the Bridge program, Brown was able to level the playing field of the education system while handing the power and the tools to the students. Brown was thrilled with the kids' attendance, energy, and projects spanning from 8th to 12th grade. The youngest group, made up of 13-year-olds, investigated ways to increase gender and racial equality in astronauts and space science. They created a program to attract people from economically disadvantaged areas into such industries. Other students investigated using an app to improve access to the healthcare system for Boston immigrants. A sustainable drip focused on ecologically friendly apparel, while another organization tried to improve community internet access. The initiatives also tackled environmental racism, food supply, climatic issues and health, and fighting pollution in Boston's Charles River through bioremediation, a personal favorite of Brown's. The turnout was everything JB hoped for. And these are 15, 16, and 17-year-olds that were coming up with these ideas. I don't know about you guys, but when I was 15, I wasn't coming up with this, Brown said. The Undefeated's Mark Spears wrote this about Brown. No, this is not your typical 19-year-old. This is the kind of 19-year-old NBA draft prospect who, for instance, chooses to enter the draft without an agent. A young man who one NBA executive said could be deemed too smart for the league. An unnamed NBA assistant general manager also said that Brown's high level of intelligence and inquisitive nature could intimidate some general managers and coaches. He added that Brown is a good kid who doesn't fit the mold of a so-called basketball player. One NBA assistant general manager explained further why some teams are not too keen on drafting Brown. He is an extremely intelligent kid. He took a graduate school class at Cal in his freshman year. He is a person who is inquisitive about everything. Because he is so smart, it might be intimidating to some teams. He wants to know why you are doing something instead of just doing it. I don't think it's bad, but it's a form of questioning authority. It's not malicious, he just wants to know what is going on. Old school coaches don't want guys that question stuff. Fortunately, Brown's reputation did not prevent then Celtics general manager Danny Ainge from selecting him third overall. This decision is still paying dividends for the Celtics. Boston has been in title contention for several years and will remain for the foreseeable future, owing in large part to the rise of Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown continues to strike a balance between becoming the greatest basketball player he can be and coping with personal issues off the court. He is already teaching his fellow NBA players about tech investing and venture capitalism, all while assisting underprivileged kids to get an education. Jaylen is also very active in the Black Lives Matter movement and is never afraid to speak up on things such as racial and social inequalities. He once drove 15 hours from Boston to Atlanta to lead a peaceful protest on police brutality. Joined by teammate Malcolm Brogdon, who has a master's degree in public policy, and former NBA player Justin Anderson. So far, everything is going well for him, on and off the court. As Jaylen Brown has demonstrated, it's one thing to be brilliant and quite another to put that intelligence for the betterment of the world and the people around him.